The world we knew is slipping away. You can feel it in the stillness after the storm, in the ash that settles where trees once stood, in the silence of birds that no longer return. Skies once clear now carry the haze of our ambition. Rivers run with the residue of progress. And the ground, once solid beneath our feet, shifts with the weight of our own undoing. Did you know that 70% of homeowners feel their space doesn't reflect their style? Don't be part of that statistic. Subscribe and start designing a home that truly feels yours. We built monuments to ourselves. Glass towers, highways, cities that never sleep. But now, those monuments groan under the pressure of a warming sky. And the question rises, what does it mean to build when the future itself is uncertain? Some walk away from the noise. They listen. They wait. They imagine. And in the hush between collapse and possibility, something emerges. Not a fortress, not a bunker, but a home. Rough around the edges, honest, enduring. A structure that remembers fire, steel, stone, and something deeper. Something human. It does not promise escape. It doesn't pretend to save the world. But it does answer the moment with stillness, with strength, with story. This is not just a house. It is an artifact. A question cast in timber and rust. A rebellion wrapped in concrete and silence. It's built not for comfort, but for continuity. Not for luxury, but for life. A beautiful home is not a dream, it's an art, and you're the artist. Subscribe and start creating spaces that speak to the soul. And in a world coming undone, it dares to begin again. This is the Anthropocene Barndominium. Once, barns were simple machines for living things. They held grain, housed animals, echoed with the rhythm of work. But now, in the shadow of a changing world, they're being reborn. Not for harvest, not for sheltering livestock, but for sheltering us. This isn't a return to nostalgia. There are no white fences here, no romantic myths of the American frontier. This barndominium is something different. It's not rustic, it's raw. Not quaint, it's honest. Its shape is angular, sharp even, as if it was carved from the future with a memory of the past. Concrete walls rise like cliffs, cool, indifferent, resilient. Steel beams stretch across the sky, rusting slowly, like the bones of time itself. And between them all, timber, charred, blackened, as if touched by flame. But not destroyed, transformed, holding the memory of fire like a scar, proud and permanent. The materials speak, not in decoration, but in metaphor. Rusted steel whispers of erosion and endurance. Charred wood remembers the wildfires we could not outrun. And on its roof, a soft crown of green. A living skin that reaches toward the sun, stubborn and alive. That green is not just a roof. It is hope. Transform your home, transform your life. Subscribe now, and let's create spaces you'll love forever. This is a home that doesn't hide from the world. It embraces it, engages it. It lets the weather in, and lets the human out. It stands at the edge of collapse, and doesn't flinch. Part shelter, part sculpture, all soul. This barndominium doesn't pretend to be perfect, but it's present, rooted, enduring, a place that holds space for grief, for beauty, and for beginning again. Here the walls breathe. They expand and contract with the rhythm of the day. They hold warmth when the sun leans in, and release it gently when night settles like a blanket across the land. The windows aren't ornaments. They don't simply look out, they open up. Wide, generous, unapologetic, to let the wind move freely, to let the rain tap softly on the steel, to let the scent of earth and wild air drift across the floor. This isn't a house built against nature. It's built with it. The line between inside and outside is not a barrier. It's a conversation, a negotiation between structure and storm, between shelter and surrender. Rainwater is not wasted here. It's gathered, kept, respected, stored not for convenience, but for continuity. Because here, water is a guest that must be welcomed and remembered. The heat of the sun is not fought. It is choreographed through angles, through shade, through intention. The home shifts with the light, as if dancing through time itself. Even the wind has a role to play. Air flows naturally, pulled through spaces shaped with purpose, not force. No hum of machines, just breath, movement, stillness. And around it all, the landscape begins to reclaim. Grasses push through gravel. Moss softens the edges of stone. It's hard to tell where the land ends and the home begins. This is not a fortress. It does not shut the world out. It lets it in, gently, carefully, trusting that coexistence is still possible. Outside becomes in. Nature becomes neighbor. And the silence of concrete makes room for the voice of the wild. Step inside, and it's like entering the bones of the earth. No polish, no pretense, just texture. Stone underfoot. Wood that still carries the scent of rain. Steel beams stretching across the ceiling like the ribs of some great, forgotten creature. The space doesn't divide, it flows. There are no rigid rooms, only rhythms. One moment you're cooking. The next you're resting. Then reading. Then simply being. It's an open plan, but not empty. Every corner carries intention. Every surface, a quiet presence. Here, minimalism isn't a style. It's a kind of respect. For space. For silence. For the soul. The walls are bare, but not cold. They hold warmth in the way a campfire holds memory. Light moves gently across reclaimed wood, across concrete softened by time. There are no chandeliers. No decoration for decoration's sake. Instead, found objects. Old tools. Rusted hinges. A cracked ceramic bowl passed down from another life. Everything has lived before. Everything carries a story. Not curated, but remembered. You feel it in the small things. The way your footsteps echo just enough to remind you you're not alone. The way the light settles in the morning, golden and forgiving. The way the silence invites you to listen to your own breath. It is shelter, yes, but it's also openness. A place where you can rest without hiding, where you can feel protected without shutting out the world. This is not just interior design. It's a lived philosophy. To live simply, to live slowly, to live with what already exists. Inside these walls, excess dissolves. And what remains is something close to peace. But a house is never just walls. It's breath. It's memory. It's the quiet echo of the people who chose to build differently when the world begged them not to. She isn't an architect by trade. Not a developer. Not a designer. Just a woman who felt the weight of the sky pressing down and decided not to look away. She speaks of the moment the wildfires came within 20 miles of her city, of the birds that stopped coming in spring, of the headlines that no longer shocked, just stacked. She calls it climate grief, a mourning that never quite ends. But from that grief came something steady, not panic, not despair, but a slow, deliberate act of rebellion. Build with care, live with less, root yourself somewhere real. She sketched this home on paper napkins and grocery lists, found scrap steel in salvage yards, collected broken bricks no one wanted, not to save money, but to save meaning. She lives off-grid now, not because it's trendy, because it's true. She grows what she can, repairs what breaks. And in the mornings, she drinks coffee as the sun slips across the concrete floor like warm silk. Rain falls on the steel roof and sounds like memory. Evenings are quiet, not empty, but full. It's not easy. Sometimes it's lonely, but she calls it honest. This house is her answer to a world that forgot how to listen. It doesn't shout. It doesn't sell. It simply is. A reflection of one choice. One person. One quiet refusal to live like nothing is wrong. And inside these walls, you begin to wonder what it might feel like to choose differently, too. The Anthropocene Barndominium doesn't fight the future. It doesn't flinch in the face of it. It folds into it, like a tree bending with the wind, not against it. This is not innovation wrapped in branding. It's not a design trend or a Pinterest fantasy. It's something quieter, more permanent. Because sustainability isn't a buzzword here. It's the foundation. Not to impress, but to endure. Solar panels hum on the roof, not as a statement, but as a solution. Water is collected, stored, honored.